Let's take a look at how we can protect against port scanning when it's done as part of an attack. First of all, there's firewalls. Firewalls are, of course, no stranger to anyone that's done any kind of reading or research or education about network security or application security in general. Firewalls are a very old and very popular tool. And what a firewall is essentially some layer in between a network and another network, or network and the outside world. And they allow you to specify what ports and what addresses should be accessible. And they can also determine what kind of traffic gets through and what kind of connections can be made and what addresses can make connections to things inside the firewall. And so having a firewall is a great idea. It does come with additional maintenance because firewall rules and access lists need to be updated as you put new things in there into your network, and you want to have them be accessible because most firewalls that are actually effective tend to be pretty closed off by default, and things have to be specifically added to the whitelist, or what's known as punching holes in the firewall, in order for them to be accessible from the outside world. But this can be a great way to just defeat port scanning in one go, where now all those various services that have accessible ports inside of the network are no longer visible to a port scanner from the outside. They would still be vulnerable to attacks by a compromised machine doing port scanning from the inside of the network, but now the firewall has taken care of that outside threat. And to go with that, we also would want to turn off unused services. So suppose you have some box that is just a web server. You don't need to have Telnet open on it, and you don't need to have any kind of mail services available on it. So you turn those things off. You turn off FTP. You turn off SSH access if you know how to manage and administer the box without having that available. And when I say box, I just mean server or computer. And that term comes from diagrams, where they look like boxes, or even real life where a lot of computers look like big metal boxes or plastic boxes. So you would turn off those services, and having them turned off, of course, means that when the scan happens for the port on which they usually run, the scanner will get back a result saying it's not available, which makes, of course, any particular target look less appealing as a target of attack if there's a bunch of things that aren't responding. And there's also the practice of changing the default messages. So if some service, a standard service, would have a specific response, like suppose a Telnet service or an FTP service, or even some of the servers out there for web and related application services would have specific banners that they send back on successful connection or on available connection. Having those change, or having those essentially not look like their default version, can sometimes defeat port scanners. If they're looking through the responses for a particular pattern and they don't see it, they'll still register something as not a successful port scan.